We're at 14 million revenue. We don't have a board. We don't have any VC, but we're not bootstrapped. We have a debt facility.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Growth and Scaling Podcast. I'm your host, Todd Westra, and you are going to be in for some fun today because how many of you, as a founder or as someone who's thinking of founding a company, have run into the problem where you are trying to solve a problem that you think is going to be the best solution ever, and it just isn't? Now, I'm not saying every business has bad ideas, but what I am saying is oftentimes we set out to start a business solving a solution that we think we need, and really it's a unique problem that not many people need. Today's founder is awesome because I love his journey that he took trying to solve his own problem and then converted that into a listening mechanism of hearing what his clients really needed, and then changed his model enough to where they love his product. He's built an awesome business with lots of revenue and is growing faster and faster every year. And in fact, he's now got 100 plus employees, over 14 million in revenue, and most of that is recurring monthly revenue, which is what we all want, isn't it? We all want recurring monthly revenue. So what he's been able to do is something that you should be thinking about doing yourself, understanding the people you want to work with, and then fixing a problem that they need. Don't be everywhere, be very specific, be niche down. Get into your niche as hard as you can so that people know you are that solution provider that they need for the problem that they've got. I know you're going to love this episode, and Chris has got some amazing stories. He's got amazing experience. I just kept listening and hearing his solutions. And as humble as he is about his success, I think that there's a lot to learn from the things that he instinctively did that are going to help you with your growth and scaling journey. So enjoy this episode, and I'll see you on the other side. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Growth and Scaling Podcast. I'm so excited today because I love interviewing people who are smarter than me. And anytime I see someone's website and I see that they are an official Salesforce something or other, I know they're smarter than me because Salesforce runs circles around most people's brains. And we have today a founder who has not only mastered the craft of what he does, but he has a very specific niche he targets, and he's got a very awesome solution. And he has been able to grow and scale in a way that a lot of founders only dream of. In 7 years of growth, he's achieved some amazing things. We're going to get into the details of this with Chris. Chris, introduce yourself. Who are you? And whose problems do you like to solve?
Chris Federspiel. I'm based split New York City and Connecticut. We have apps on the Salesforce App Exchange, and they help organizations manage their payments and events. And the original thesis came from using some of the other App Exchange apps that were out there at the time. This was back in 2015. And I wanted the payments app and an events app to function a bit differently from other stuff that was out there. So we started this thing up and started growing it. Now there's 110 of us, I think. We're at 14 million revenue. We don't have a board. We don't have any VC, but we're not bootstrapped. We have a debt facility. So we're still growing, still have control of the company. And we're totally remote, 4-day work week, a little bit different.
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. And not to mention you are international, you're global, you're in 25 states. I mean, dude, come on. Let's talk it up a little bit. You have built a really cool organization.
Yeah, I hate commuting. I hate offices, and I hate wearing suits and dressing up. So I have sweatpants on right now. I'm always having sweatpants. I figured other people want to work from home. So we had a few people in New York at some point just because of proximity of starting. So we had a WeWork, but even from starting, we've had people in India, China, Spain, just all over the place. And now we've got the 15 or 16 countries that we have now. And there's like 25 US states. And we meet up once a year to say hi. And, now remote work is like a thing. But when you're making software and you're selling globally, because we have customers that are everywhere, it doesn't really matter if we're in one place, and it allows us to hire a lot of people, the best people, wherever they are. So it makes it easier to hire.
I love it. A lot of people don't really consider that now. It's become such a norm to be remote. The fact that you started this in 2015 as a remote work type business was a little bit like too lax, I think most people would have said to you, right?
Yeah, it really wasn't as common. I mean, we worked a lot. Early on, it was like 70, 80 hours a week, which is like really not sustainable. I have no kids, right. And if you're trying to raise a family and, you're in the office and that's a lot.
It is.
But everyone, since they're working from home, they had, if you work from home, you have another hour and a half to your day right. Instead of commuting. And people with families, totally. They liked it. They could walk their kid to school if they wanted to. And
100%.
Yeah, I don't know. It's worked well.
I love it. I have also been a remote worker since about 2010. It's been nice. I have offices in the countries where I predominantly work in the Philippines. I've always had offices over there, but I haven't since COVID, and it's actually been an amazing thing. Even my staff's the same way. They'll take their kids to school, and then they come back, and then they're back on the clock, and it's like it's a beautiful way to grow a business. Now, I want to back up a step though, because I want people to really understand the cool scope of your work. And I say this with all due respect. I think it's amazing because there are so many founders out there who want to go off and do their own business. They want to start their own business, and they think they've got to start from a foundation of nothing into something, right? What you did is very powerful, in my opinion, where you took a platform like Salesforce, and you think about the clients of Salesforce. Who are they? They're all businesses generating lots of revenue, and they have really specific needs. Like, you weren't stupid enough, like a lot of founders, like I've been in the past, where you're like, I got to create something really new and different. No, you actually jumped and piggybacked onto a platform people were already using and said, I have an easier way to do what you're trying to do.
Well,
tell us about that.
It was like a natural progression. It wasn't something I really thought about. I started working in the Salesforce ecosystem in early 2011, and I was at two companies, and then I started my own consulting company. And at my second company, actually, I got fired from the company, and I decided I have like 3 months of savings, and I had a bunch of relationships. I knew I could get like a bunch of 5K implementation deals, which was enough to cover my expenses.
Sure.
So I started doing a lot of those, and eventually I sold too many, and I couldn't deliver them all myself. So then I partnered with another guy and started hiring people. But in that time, there were already payments apps and events apps that were on Salesforce on the App Exchange, but they were very, very hard to set up. Like when you have an app on your phone, you just install it and it works. And that's how I just wanted these apps to be. So that's what we made. The initial thesis was around infrastructure. You want to do a payment and you happen to be using Salesforce. Here's your app. You want to run something like Eventbrite or Cvent out of Salesforce. Like, here's an app you can do. But it's become verticalized. What we found is our apps on the App Exchange, we had a lot of higher ed and nonprofit organizations coming to us. So we then flipped that around. So that became our go-to-market for events. For payments, it's still a mix of high tech, and we do a lot of home services actually with mobile payments. So we're kind of running two businesses. So we have a go-to-market of one for home services for with payments, and there's a different go-to-market for higher ed and nonprofit, and some mixed healthcare for events.
Wow, that is not very normal, but
no, it's really niche, strange business. But I did not set out with this thesis. I just knew that I wanted to have payments and events apps that were easier to use. Like, as a sales, if you have there's this weird, I don't know how to explain it to someone who's not like a Salesforce admin, but once you're like clicking through Salesforce as an admin, you kind of get this desire to use other apps that are built on Salesforce. It's like this, I don't know how to explain it. I think that's why the Salesforce community is such a big community of these certified professionals, because everyone just gravitates towards this weird feeling of wanting to use something like that. So I was kind of particular about how I wanted them to interact, and that's what kind of came about.
That's cool. I mean, honestly, I say it with all respect in the world. I think it's awesome. Like, I really do think that too many founders try to overcomplicate their launch by trying to compete with Salesforce, for example, or build an alternative solution from scratch that nobody's going to ever adopt, because how do you beat the biggest CRM in the world with something just specific use case that you're trying to do? So I think it's brilliant. I think it's so smart. And those of you listening, if you're trying to recreate a system that already works, don't. Just supplement. And I love the Salesforce provides for developers like you to create the ecosystem in a friendly way that's like, hey, you got something cool? Bring it into our world and we'll help plug you in.
Yeah, we this is paraphrasing Paul Graham. Well, very much paraphrasing. He more or less says that, if you have or maybe this is also a mix with Jason from Saster, but if you have like a niche, even really small feature of a product that helps people in a pretty really big way, by growing the app, it eventually opens the doors for other areas to grow the business based upon what customers are telling you. So initially our payments app was an integration just to Stripe. And now we have 120 gateways and merchants that we support through the platform.
I love it.
Through lots of different routes. So like a year and a half ago, I bought 2 companies. And one company I bought does SMS. So now you can actually text message a link to be able to pay someone on your phone. Like, this is so far from what we initially started to do. And another company I bought does PCI scanning of your environment. So let's say you're using Salesforce for support. Someone emails you their credit card number. You can be against PCI compliance, right? These are like really boring areas of business, but like they're real problems for companies. So this other company was doing the scanning. So these are all like coming in lateral or supplementing what our payments app did. But originally starting this company, I had no idea it would even go into this. I never knew we would have a mobile payments app that worked on iOS and Android using device readers. Like I had no idea. So you keep saying I'm like so smart, but none of this was planned. It all just like organically happened.
That's okay.
I think that the thing that has worked is just kind of like assessing options. So I'm giving a talk actually next week at SaaS Open about Nathan Laka's event, about starting with like your thesis and then going after what comes in front of you, but then making sure you get to some kind of focus. So we had 2 apps, and at one point we went all the way up to having 9 apps, and now we went back down to 2 apps. We actually killed 7 applications that we made, because we found they just weren't scaling with the effort. The revenue wasn't behind the effort. So even though it looks like this is a company where like, we have our act together, like there was really a lot of time that we burned.
There's a huge lesson to be learned in there though. And this is something that I talk to a lot of my clients too about is, do you have products where you're putting so many resources towards it that it's just not justifying the revenue that comes from those efforts? And you just said an amazing thing, believe it or not, in that a lot of businesses will go under trying to put so much energy into something that's just not worth it.
Yeah.
How did you make these decisions to which products to stick with versus which ones? Because some of them you're pretty passionate about, right?
Yeah.
They're just not being well received.
It's very hard, and each one has a different reason. So in 2018, we almost went bankrupt. In August, we had like $7K in the bank account with like an $80K monthly outflow. And Jason from Launch, they wired us $100K. And I then went to San Francisco to pitch our product to VCs for 12 weeks. It was 9 VCs a week. And I was initially pitching our overall stack of all these products. And the feedback was, we have no idea what you do. Like everyone had no idea what we did. I'm like, okay, that's obviously horrible. Either these people are idiots or like, okay, actually I'm the idiot. I'm the idiot. It took me a long time to realize I'm like, okay, I'm actually the idiot. So what his advice was, these are new people you're meeting each week. Why don't you just pitch a different individual product every week and see what like people say? So one week I pitched events. Another week I would pitch mobile payments. Another week I pitched like this all-encompassing portal that brought all this stuff together with like this data normalization. It didn't work. So what we did was we changed this giant ETL tool that we built, this big middleware, into being a point solution to do only events. So it was doing all these other things, but we stripped them all down based upon the feedback of that. And a big thing I learned from this is, you know, if you have like lots of focuses, you're not focusing on anything. And the reason it's events and payments is events have payments as a checkout layer. So that's what our payments app is. All of our events customers actually use our payments app. So it was originally designed to you register for an event. It's using Stripe as the checkout to do the payment. And then you have your registration, which is two apps. But they've since like gone in these two different areas. But we had a donations app where all of our payments customers kept asking us for a donations app, all these nonprofits. So we made it, and none of them wanted to pay us more than $3,000 a year. If you have like AEs and outbound sales and you have a support team and documentation and onboarding, Jason Lemkin says the minimum threshold years ago in his book was $10,000. You had to have an average revenue per account, right? I think that number with growing costs is probably closer to 12 or 14K now, maybe even 15. So it was $3,000, and we kept scaling with these $3,000 things where the users had no idea how to use the app because they had no idea how to use Salesforce. Like they hadn't migrated their data. They didn't know how to use opportunities or something. Like that's not what our company was doing. And so we killed that thing. That was like an $80K ARR line. I don't know. We killed a whole bunch of these $80K ARR lines. There was like this billing app we made that we killed. There was this web-based like order management PDF generator thing that we killed. This is a lot.
It's painful, isn't it?
You know, it's in the moment of making the decision, when cash is tight, that's when it's stressful. But I've never looked back and said like something was a waste because we never would have known. Some people like one or two of our devs were very upset because they were building something for like a year that like never saw the light of day. But I was also in the office almost every weekend building the apps as well. And like they weren't in the office doing this, but I never really had that feeling. And everybody has stock options. They're all owners. Like at exit, some people will make like really a lot of money. So it's not like I'm saying this is like the sole owner person. Like some people really are quite invested here. And I know it was rough. It was just something that we had to do though. Otherwise the business would have died. Yeah.
It's so smart though. And honestly, I think that a lot of businesses do fail because they're trying to solve so many problems that people do get confused. They're like, wait a second, what am I getting here? Like, I like you, but I don't get it. How are you helping me?
Yep.
Interesting. That's a fun journey. That's actually a really amazing story to tell. And I think that those listening, you know, when you're considering your growth and scaling journey, new products aren't always the answer. And in fact, I would say just doubling down and making better the verticals that are already bringing you revenue are the smartest path to growth.
You know, it's I am very opinionated with how products operate. So I'd like to think that like that's really what I'm good at in understanding like how to get to a user experience that's enjoyable. I'm not great at sales. I'm not great at finance. I'm not great at like onboarding. I'm not great at dealing with customers. I get too frustrated too quickly. I'm pretty much not good at most of these things. So along the way, like each successive person we hired that was better in their thing than I was at the thing, they brought it to the next level. So along the way, we got like I'm not a developer. That's the only thing that I originally did dev when I was younger and in high school and whatnot, but it's not like my thing. So the bigger thing was like
how it's done.
At least I can understand it. So like our packaging and pricing is when things started to really work. So we had this product which was originally being sold for like a few thousand a year, and the product hasn't greatly changed, but it's gotten more stable, has more features now. But we changed our packaging significantly. So we have many customers that are 100K ARR plus customers now because we changed our product and packaging. What we learned is that we were just underpriced. And what was interesting was that we, as we raised our price, we actually started to get less pushback on having too high of a price, which never made sense to me.
Interesting.
Yeah, because when you get something for cheap, you're like, oh, this is crap, this is cheap. But if it's really really expensive, then there's like a higher perceived value behind it. And the reality is, I added up our payroll since we started, and it's something like a bit over $20 million. So if you think if you have your payroll over 20 million to buy an app, if you're paying 10K a year for an app, but it took you $20 million to make the app, like, okay, maybe we should raise the prices a bit, So it made sense, but we couldn't keep doing what necessarily wasn't bringing us the revenue. We had to do what we thought would actually scale with bigger organizations paying more money and something that would work. And I couldn't think through it until we got more experienced either sales or marketing or engineering people to help scale this thing.
So tell me this, Chris, because the conversation thus far has been amazing in terms of you've really shed light on a lot of pains that a lot of people experience in their growth journey. Tell me this though, how much of what you just explained has to do with fully understanding your client persona and understanding what they're wanting from you?
Well, I started the company with what annoyed me, but then after we deliver it, it became what annoyed our customers. So there's a lot of startup lessons that more or less says, just listen to your customers. They'll tell you what they want.
Right.
And as long as you build it, they'll keep going that way. Now, Steve Jobs made a phone that didn't have a keyboard. So there's some famous examples that don't follow that exactly. Right. But, if all the customers are saying one thing and they're willing to pay more money for it, then we just followed that. So I didn't have some grand idea about how this thing would work. Just as we've gone, we've listened to people. And I saw this tweet yesterday. Harry Stebbings, I think that's his name. He said, if you have under 100 customers, fire up a WhatsApp group with 20 key customers. Just put them all in the group and just say, as you use our product, message me and give me feedback. Just message me. And that's the fastest way to get feedback. Now, wouldn't be the most sustainable for us now to do that because our customers are kind of all over. But originally I was having, I was on the phone with customers every day. I was writing our support docs. I was doing the support cases. I was doing the onboarding. So everything I did was with the customer. So I knew what it is that they wanted to do. So
you started to understand what they wanted, right?
Yeah. It's the initial event wizard we had when we made it, I'm like, this thing's going to be awesome. Everyone's going to love it. And we rolled it out and half the people liked it and half the people were like, this thing sucks. And now we're finally rolling out a new one coming out in, I don't know, a month or two that then cures all the things that people said it sucked. But this new one has taken us over a year and the last one took us 2 months or something. But I was so wrong with it. So,
well, I think that's a case with almost any founder and almost any startup is they think they know the problem that they're trying to solve. They get in there and when it doesn't bite, they just give up. And what you did is so smart in that you went in there, they weren't biting the way you were hoping they would, but you didn't your pride didn't get in the way. You were like, oh crap, what should we do? What do you really want? I think that's a huge good piece of advice for people listening.
Yeah, it's this isn't I don't think I make a lot of startup friends in saying this, but most apps that people are building, including ours, are not earth-shattering. These are things that make people's lives a little bit easier, that make money, but the world doesn't stop if your thing goes away. There were already other payments apps or events apps on the Salesforce platform. I do it because I enjoy the challenge and I wanted ones to operate the way I want them to operate. Right? I did it for very selfish reasons, and sure, maybe people they get a little enjoyment out of it. I know a lot of our employees' lives have changed a lot because they're getting paid much more than in past things. They've been with us for many years
Right.
to get this 4-day work week. There's a lot of benefits there. Like we're donating 1% of revenue to Stripe Climate. I think we were their first company to use the app. We're like well over 100K donated there. We donate like 3K a month to WotC. So like we're doing good stuff with the money. The employees like it. But at the end of the day, like the apps aren't doing some like groundbreaking thesis that I have to devote my life to. You know,
Totally.
I set out to do this because I didn't want to have a boss. I didn't want to go into an office, and I like working on computers. So as long as the thing I'm making is doing that, then it's achieving what I want to do. So if we end up making an app for a while and we kill it, okay, whatever, we'll like make another one. So I think it aligns more around why I started this in the first place. Like if your thesis is to make an electric car and all of a sudden you have to make a gas one, like that sucks. That's a problem. But if but if you want to just make some apps on Salesforce that make money, then just pivot and figure out what works. Is it, we haven't really been too stuck.
What is the need? You're solving a problem, and that's the key thing. And I think a lot of businesses forget that the reason they went into business was to solve a problem. And often it's a problem that they had personally that they want to come up with a fix for. I think you're not unique there, but the thing that is unique to people that actually succeed is they keep listening to the people they're trying to solve the problem for and keep solving bigger problems. And that's where the success hits. Would you say?
Yeah. I mean, with our events platform now, this wizard we're rolling out has been just a massive change. And it's solely being created because it's what our customers asked for. It's the same way that we have a virtual events, like a post-sales kind of post-registration kind of interaction platform that's coming out soon. And we have a whole new app that's going to be launching next month that we call the Blackthorn Storefront. So higher ed and nonprofit, they sell continuing and executive education, like these digital courses. And if you're on Salesforce, you have to use Salesforce's big apps that they built, and the entry cost is like $1 million plus, and they don't focus on digital goods. Like if you have like a million SKUs of sneakers you want to sell, the app is fantastic. But no one like our platform has nothing to do with inventory. This is not what it is. It's more of like, I passed these 3 courses, now I'm eligible to get this 4th. Or I'm doing a company purchase of 20 courses and now I want to assign them. Like it's different. But that app never would have existed. It was never part of the original thesis. It's just because of what our customers
they told you they needed to do.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Dude, this has been a fantastic interview. I know that there's like a ton of golden nuggets in here that people are going to really appreciate. But tell us before you leave. I always love to give a shout out to people that have inspired you to kind of keep your business moving or maybe even helps direct the path that you're on now. Who is that person? We want to give them a little bit of kudos.
Yeah, we were talking right before this and it got me thinking about who that person is. And, I've had a lot of people I've followed through the years. So I have Bipolar 2. Paul English is another Bipolar founder. He created Kayak. I was emailing with him pretty early on to just get some thoughts and motivation. My therapist, Donna Martyr, has been like immensely helpful. I'm 8 years into seeing her now, up to 4 times a week. So I'm well over 1,000 sessions of seeing her.
Wow. Wow.
But as for like another founder in the Salesforce ecosystem, pretty early on, I was talking to this guy, Chris Moisey from Proximity Insight, and his journey has been kind of similar to ours. He had a prior company. He was in the ecosystem. It hasn't been a straightforward path. He's had some ups and downs, but I don't know. Just talking about like the growth of the company has kind of made me thought about his path as well. I
love it. Those are awesome shout outs. And honestly, I've yet to talk to a founder ever who doesn't have someone that they look at that's giving them inspiration. I think it's awesome, again, on your part that you did reach out to some people who are dealing with the same type of stresses and things that plague them. And you're like, dude, I want to know how they can balance that with their business. I think it's really super impressive.
Yeah, it's really important to keep like exercise. And I stopped drinking a few years ago because it was making me too depressed, and I have consistent sleep patterns, and it all just helps. Like the bigger we get, the more stable I have to be. Like when we're 10 people, I could be a nutcase and everyone's like, okay, fine, whatever. But now as we bring on new people, people that join a 100-person company are not the ones that join a 10-person company. Like they want more stability.
Totally.
They want more structured onboarding. They want process. They don't want like an insane founder. So I had to change a lot with the company.
I love it. Dude, I got to tell you, Chris, this has been a fantastic interview. I know that there's things in here that are going to help other people, and that's really why we're here. We want to inspire other people in the growth and scaling phase of their business to know that they can do it. They can listen to these examples, even reach out. How do people follow you? Are you on social media? Is there a place people can kind of get more impact from you?
Yeah, you can just email me. It's just chris@blackthorn.io. They could also just, you can always message me on LinkedIn too. I'm pretty active on there. Cool.
We're going to put links to both those down below. And if you're a Salesforce user and you have needs for events and payment processing, you know your guy to go to.
That's right. There's the plug. Thanks, Todd.
There you go, Chris. Thanks for being on today. We'll talk to you guys later.
Cool.
That is awesome, isn't it? What did you think of that episode? I loved it. I got to think that if you made it this far, you loved the episode as well. He was inspiring to me because he kind of helped put in my mind the reality that I want a good paying client. How do I get a good paying client? Get a client already paying for a big product that costs them a lot of money and they're willing to spend a bit more to make it work even better. So that's a great solution. If you're looking for business ideas, this episode is fantastic. If you've got a business idea and you're having trouble getting traction, see if you can tweak it to put it in the line of people who are already paying for big solutions. If your product can satisfy the needs of a large organization, stop selling to solopreneurs. If your product is something that is only for solopreneurs, think for a second about, hey, you know what? If I did this change and this change, people with 100 employees could really use my product. That's where you got to start thinking, and that's where Chris was thinking when he founded his company. I love the story. I'm inspired by his passion about his business. I'm inspired by his shout outs. I think that there are always people you need to look to in your vertical and industry that are going to inspire you. And he has reached out, had relationships with them, and has been able to grow and scale his company in a way that would have been hard to do otherwise. So enjoy the journey. Your growth and scaling journey is yours and yours alone. I hope this episode inspired you. Share it with other people that need that inspiration, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for being here.